Incentive. Yes.
I have to disagree. I've been meeting with businesses, and I look at these, and I realize that all annexations are not equal. But we have people that want to annex into our city, and what we have done is throw a roadblock up against that. We have a goal of annexing into our city. It's in our strategic plan, and yet we throw a roadblock. We aren't consistent. If we want people to annex, then we need to facilitate that, and we need to make it happen. And Charlotte Memorial Garden would annex in tomorrow if they didn't have the $8,000 fee. They're sitting there waiting in hopes that Walmart would allow them to go in at the same time with them so they can share the fee, so they don't have to pay the whole fee. And if we were to say, pay all of the external cost so that the city is not out anything, it's cost neutral to the city, they would annex in a minute. And I know that, when I look at Park Hill, and I look at Windmill Village, and I look at River Haven, these are all organizations that were offered to annex into the city a couple of years ago at zero cost. So for them, all of a sudden they have an $8,000 fee. It's a something that they have to really work through to convince their residents that it's a good thing. And when in fact it's a very positive thing for them to move into the city. So I think I support, obviously, have had many conversations with Park Hill, them being able to, I think, David, your suggestion is a good one. And they could then, it gives them a way of convincing their residents, being able to sell the residents on that we're supporting them, but also looking at these fees, because it's a roadblock.
Would we want staff to come back with the specific costs that we talk about? I know that there's variations in advertising and things like that and legal review, but could we come up with a number that is perhaps less than 8,000? Kim?
I was just thinking, I mean, they're going to pay for they would pay for all the direct cost, but as Rachel said, some are more difficult. I mean, maybe we could come up with a certain, I mean, you guys would have to do it, a certain amount of hours staff time is included, and after that, fees kick in, so that if you did get a huge project and it was taking up a lot of time, and maybe they had to, hire some extra people or something.
Now, that's something we hadn't thought of.
Rachel?
And I like that because it's kind of along the line of public records request. If it's going to take staff time and they got to do redaction and copying and all this, then we do charge for that. I like that idea a lot, but I definitely don't want to look at the external fees for legal and advertising.
No.
Okay.
No.
Because
No,
I
no,
thought
no,
that's what you were saying, Carolyn.
No, those fees, in
Would
other words,
stay.
yes, but even advertising, you don't know exactly how much that's going to be.
Right.
So you need to have
That's a direct cost.
but that's a direct cost, can you think, Tom?
Well, I think we need to be, I agree with Rachel, we need to be strategic going forward, and if there are certain cost benefits to these annexations, we need to look at them, I think, on an individual basis, rather than making one specific set of rules.
Well, are we okay with at least exploring for the over 10 acres, maybe a minimum hour kind of thing?
Yes,
Yeah.
The direct cost is direct cost. We're not,
absolutely. And I don't think anybody would, from the conversations I've had, if we have to incur a cost, no one would disagree that they should pay that. And even if there was such a thing as overtime or whatever, I mean, they would understand we need to pay that. It's really.
But I guess what I'm hearing two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Are we saying that we're going to come up with an averaging of cost to give them so that they know what it's going to cost up front? Or are we going to wait at the back end and say, oh, well, you know, with so many hours for legal, so much money for advertising.
No, I think that's part of the package.
That would be part of, that's what I'm asking.
The
Okay,
direct costs
that I
would be
agree.
passed through as they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
The staff time would be, you get so many hours included, you know, I mean, you could use this project for an example. If you go over X, whatever you come up with, then you pay X, Y, Z.
Yes, Rachel.
In essence, though, could the escrow account be applied toward their fees?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it'd be an advance towards their
Yeah,
costs.
so really they are offsetting, if we agreed to do the surcharge escrow account, that money could be debited basically in their mind, you know, or on their budget, debited off of what they're gonna have to pay to do the annexation.
They might even get some money back if we've overestimated the costs.
Yeah, Park Hill is so, it's so easy. That's an easy one, and that's like an Eagle Point.
Right.
Well, that's why Kim's idea works, because they won't be penalized, but then, you know, the more time-consuming issues and unforeseen issues would be handled.
I think we have enough.
Okay,
We'll bring something back.
real good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good idea, Kim.
City Attorney.
Nothing further, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Our city clerk?
Yes, at council's direction, staff has been conducting a survey of businesses. It's a business satisfaction survey. We've been doing that for about 8 months now. We have about a 45% return rate, and we have had no rating less than excellent, with additional comments on the survey about the good service they receive from our staff. I'm asking whether council wants us to continue with the survey, or do we have what we were looking for? I'm not really sure, but we've been doing this for about 8 months now.
I would like to recommend that we continue. First of all, I think it's good feedback for staff, but it's also an opportunity for our businesses to recognize that we really do care that they are being treated appropriately. So I think, I would think we should continue. It doesn't take up that much time, I assume. You're getting, what, a 48% response, you said?
It's about 45 now.
45.
And no, now that the survey's been developed, all we're doing is handing it out and just tabulating the results. We haven't had to really distribute that to the other departments because there haven't been any comments that other than the excellent. So, do you have a time frame or just indefinitely? How would you like?
Rachel?
I think this is something too that could be worked into the city clerk's evaluation, because we struggled this last year with some of the criteria, and this would be a perfect, you know, segment of that to say, these were the surveys, these were the results, a different, you know, another metric.
Okay.
So I would like to see it continue.
Is it on the website? I mean, could they do it on the website, or maybe at least on the new website?
It is not. We hand it to them
Okay,
or
when
give
they
it to
come
them
in.
with their business tax receipt.
Okay.
Yes, Nancy?
You know, I agree with a thought of continuous improvement. It's just a continuous thing that we need to do, and I agree that it gives our businesses an opportunity, and there may be something down the road, that something happened and somebody wants to express, or they may express an opinion about something that is totally unrelated, but good to know information as well, so I like it.
John?
Just to compliment you guys on the wonderful job that you are doing, thank you.
Yes?
you.
Good results.
Yep.
Now, you didn't mess those up, did you? You didn't modify them? Okay.
You know, I would say it also substantiates what we hear. We hear it, but it just reaffirms what a great city we have, and
And how responsive our clerk's office is, so yes.
We will continue to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Under boards and committees, we still have our 2 alternate seats on the Historic Preservation Advisory Board as continuing vacancies. We now have a regular seat on the Historic Preservation Advisory Board. We had a member who is moving out of the city limits, so he's no longer eligible to serve.
He's a regular member,
He is a regular member.
so we're short a member now.
A short, 1 regular member and 2 alternates.
We need someone from our interested in our historic district. You don't have to be from the historic district either,
That's
Well, it
correct.
depends,
Well, it
don't you?
depends.
We have some who are,
in terms of identify. Now,
Yeah.
what are we looking for in this one? Do
I would
they,
have to look and see if he was a resident of the historic district.
well, since he's moving outside, that might be, well, you could let us know the next time then, in terms of, or at least get that information out to
Well-
us so we can promote it.
I can think of 2 members that do live in the historic district, so I doubt that that person is,
We have, actually, they must be a city resident, and residents of a historic district are encouraged to apply but not required.
Okay.
So,
But someone that's interested in our historic area. And I think
Mhm.
that's, so you don't have to be from the historic district. And maybe people don't really realize that, so. And we have 2 for the Utility Advisory Board.
Yes, we have 2 for the Utility Advisory Board due to forfeit, due to absences. We also have 2 regular members who are terming out. Advertising those just a little bit early because this will mean we have 4 full-time vacancies on utility. We are receiving applications, however.
Good.
because 2 of them were long-term members, board members.
2 have, right, they've served the maximum number of terms allowed.
But technically, they can wait out an absence and then come back
They
again
can. Mhm. If they want to.
if they want to.
We have a 2-year term on the firefighters pension board. Then under nominations, we
I
have
see that you also have listed a Historic Preservation Advisory Board again. Is that,
Yes, we have the 2 alternates, and then we have 1 regular member on
Okay.
historic.
thank you, I'm sorry.
And then under nominations, we have a 3-year term on the utility advisory board, and we have 1 eligible applicant. If you'd like to nominate and appoint, I would recommend we do that, just so we don't lose another member.
Nominate and appoint Mr. or
Hoffman.
Hoffman.
Second.
Mhm. Thank you. And that's all I have.
James Hoffman.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's a motion. Did we?
Yes.
Was there a second?
It was.
Yes, there was a second.
Do you
Thank
need a
you.
vote?
And we want to vote on
Thank you.
that. Sorry, Caroline.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to nominate Mr. Hoffman
And appoint.
and appoint. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We now move to policy and legislation. Oh, yes, you forgot something.
I forgot something. Under the joint meeting topics, our Public Works Director has reminded us that on a regular basis, we get a question regarding the crossing, railroad crossing at 41 and Jones Loop Road, Burnstore.
Yes,
Do we want an update or not?
yes. Thank you.
That's the MERT,
That would be awesome.
So that's the railroad crossing at,
41 Jones Loop Road, Burnstore, that whole intersection there.
Yes,
The county's been trying to work with the railroad and along the MERT.
Good idea.
It's been, Add it
and
to the
we
list?
also have, yes, and that just reminds me, we also have had a question with regards to the Ackline area as well, so need to get back to the MPO with regards to that.
okay, but at least we can add that one, the 41. Okay.
Thank you. I had mentioned, in terms of the, under policy now, for my report, I had mentioned earlier that we received an email from our lobbyist, Jerry Paul, to saying now's the time for all of our veterans, all of our citizens to get their emails out to Representative Clay Ingram. And this will be important for people to speak to it from their perspective. You know, I provided a letter in my emails, and if all of you would send to your lists as well to get people involved. But Tom, I don't know whether you have the email lists of the.
Yeah, I did. I got your letter and I copied it and sent it to all of the appropriate
Great,
groups.
thank you, thank you. Also, we had talked about last time the Mayor's Challenge for Safe People, Safe Streets, and I did forward to all of you the document that Mitchell Austin had put together, and I was very pleased to see how much we are doing. At some point, I'd like for us to, again, take a look at what other actions do we need to take to ensure, again, our pedestrians and our bicyclists and our drivers are safe on our streets. So At one point, perhaps we could put on a future agenda, maybe to have our, again, our police, our bicycle groups, like, come together and saying, what else is missing, so that we can start planning. Rachel?
Well, we have asked to have an agenda item, well, I had asked concerning a plan to get to the bronze level of being bicycle friendly, so maybe that could be all one
That would
big
be- that
ball
would-
of wax. Because we really need a plan before we start
That's right.
picking and choosing, in my mind, and to look for funding. Again, TDC, other sources, I mean, there's money out there because once we get that designation, we can market ourselves in that nature. So I don't know when that will happen, but maybe we could pull from that as well and incorporate that.
After the council meeting today, we're meeting with the Team Punta Gorda Bicycle Committee to put together a status report on exactly
Good,
where we're at.
okay.
I don't know when it will be scheduled, because they're the ones that are going to present it. But they know what their assignment is.
Okay.
So it'll be a future agenda.
Okay, well, would you also then incorporate with that presentation, then maybe we, again, maybe that's the focus of that council meeting, that we also then take a look at any issues for pedestrians with regards to our policing, school crossings, you know, other things, other areas in terms of our vehicles. I don't know whether you saw or not, but and did you bring it with you, your sticker now for
I didn't bring it.
vehicles, but it's got the patch for
3
the,
feet.
yeah, to stay away 3 feet for bicycles, you know, that'll go in all of our city vehicles, so that would be, that is good. So maybe we can just get, again, a combination. I don't know whether we're ready to put this on, I'd like to forward this on, at least as, I haven't finished, but I haven't finished on mine.
I think she's talking about the same topic,
Okay.
though.
I am too. Sorry, Nancy.
Well, you recognized other people, I just,
Nancy.
thank
Yes.
you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
In that same token, when you're talking, I don't know where it falls, but since we get, I know I get a number of emails from people in regard to our MIRT and our linear parks and the Harbor Walk, since they aren't really streets, but they are pathways, so if we could, safe streets and pathways,
Okay.
so that we can, thank you.
What I was going to suggest is that while this is not complete, the document that Mitchell put together, do we want to forward this on to the U.S. Department of Transportation at this point in time and saying, this is what we've accomplished so far, and we are still working on it? Should we forward it now, or should we wait? I think we have so much to share. I'd like to let them know that what we're doing.
And future plan.
Do you want to wait until after the Team Punta Gorda one?
And so
or-
that we have some additional information. That would be fine. We can wait. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for introducing that.
Yes.
The next was and I also shared this with you via email, Mayor's Challenge to End Veterans Homelessness. This was a request that came from Susan Klinker, the Bay Pines VA healthcare system, in which they're engaging mayors in Southwest Florida from Palm Harbor to Naples. There's no cost to the city on this. But this was a challenge, again, coming from the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs. So I was doing a bit of research to check out what is happening. And we do have a number of homeless veterans, at least as identified by the Homeless Coalition, Angela Hogan. But these veterans that are on the street, she identified 44 homeless veterans on the street in 2014. Anticipate the number may go up this year. But we also have a number of areas right here in Punta Gorda that serve our veterans, which I was very pleased to hear. Again, I wasn't aware of it. Volunteers in America on Taylor Road next to Sally Jones Elementary. It's Punta Gorda Veterans Village. They have 12 two-bedroom apartments for veterans. All are full. Stillwater House in Punta Gorda has, again, housing for veterans, 15 beds, all are full. The Jewish Children and Family Services of Suncoast on Grace Street provides rental assistance to veterans with families through a Supportive Services for Veterans Families grant program. We also have, again, learned a little bit more also from David Donahue, who's the chair of the Veterans Council in Charlotte County. And when I talked with Commissioner Deutsch, who is the liaison to the Homeless Coalition and has been working obviously with the veterans issues, he said David is the guy to go to learn about our veterans. According to David, though, those that are identified as on the street may not be those that can obtain services because they have been not have honorable discharge or some other issue related to it. But any of those that do, he anticipates that there may only be a couple of our veterans that, again, come into a bad time, either lose employment or something like that, and then become, quote, homeless because they can't afford their rent. But there are a number of programs. There are voucher programs from HUD. He said that he had 40, and he was able to provide these vouchers for living, to live, to have housing for. And he's expecting maybe 20 more. So they are taking care of our veterans, which I was very, very pleased to hear. Obviously, we don't want anyone on the streets, but he said some of those people, that's their lifestyle, and that's that way they want it, that's the way they're going to keep it. So again, everyone takes a choice, but those who want housing appear to be able to have it. So I think that's the good news there, and I just wanted to share that with you.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you, Karen.
That's great.
One of the issues that came up during meeting with some residents was their recommendation that we should have workshops like the county commission does. Just have open workshops where we can discuss issues. And I was thinking about it, I said, well, we do. We vet our issues. Our meetings go on if they need to go on. I mean, I feel we have sufficient discussion. And as I was looking at our agenda again today, if a person attends only one meeting, they really don't have the understanding of how often we may have talked about the issue previously. Our ordinances come before us, but before they come before us, they've usually been vetted not only by us, but our other committees that we have. So I guess I just wanted to share that I believe we're having sufficient discussion that we can make good decisions. Do the rest of you feel that way?
Yes, and we do things just a little differently, because we've come across that during the budget cycle too, where people come to our 501 meeting and they don't see enough action, but they weren't here for the 12 other times that we hashed out and we went through yes, no, maybe, and we did furlough days and we had to make all those tough decisions. We did that before we got to the 501, so when they come and they're ready to, give their input on the budget, at that point, most of the decisions have already been made. Whereas I think some other communities, their 501 tax meetings, they may make some of those decisions right then and there. So we do things a little bit different, but I think we're very good at, we're so transparent, especially, our website now is good, but when we get our new website, I think it'll be award-winning myself, because really, everything is searchable. If there's a keyword, you can go in the ordinances, you can search by keyword. You can go in the agendas, you can search by keyword. You don't have to pull through layers and layers to try to find what you're getting at. So I think maybe you're right, we've had that in the past, when we've had those tough budget years. And, we had to defend ourselves a little bit, so.
Yes, Nancy?
Yeah, I would agree in that we really do have a very open meeting and are welcoming. And I would want to know, what would the residents want us to do in these meetings?
Well, I in looking back.
I know
and thinking
myself,
about
I
it,
ask about budget was one, but
But in terms of, again, if you came in and listened to our discussion today about an ordinance, and we go, okay, no public no public input, and then we just pass it, they wouldn't have realized that 3 other sessions were taken up discussing it. Because it was discussed and we sent it back then to committee comes back to us, et cetera. Right.
yeah, I would think that if we had enough business that necessitated us having another meeting just so that we could come to consensus, so that it facilitated having a shorter meeting here on Wednesday. My personal observation is I think that's why they do the workshops, because when you read in the paper, you read the vote and a lot of yeses. Well, that's because they've had the workshop and they've vetted a lot of things in their workshop. You know, we're doing that live in the meetings,
That's right.
so
Okay, so we're all
it's a
comfortable.
similar.
And their consent agenda is like the volume of our entire agenda sometimes. So I think the volume of what they have to go through is a lot more than what we do.
Yes, Tom?
Just one thing, why don't we, if you guys agree, why don't we consider documenting the process that we utilize to get to an ordinance? The fact that it comes up initially at council, we sign off on a concept, then it goes back to all of the committees, and then it comes back to us for first and second reading. Why don't we put that in the weekly and try and
That would be good.
get the word out
Great
there?
idea. Great idea, Tom.
Maybe even on the website ordinance process, that should be interesting reading.
Yeah, I
We'll
just
see
had
how many
another,
hits we get on that.
another thought, and Howard may have to answer this question. We have individual meetings with Howard before the council meeting, so that gives each of us as an individual a time to digest certain things and think about other things before we come to this meeting. Are those workshops that they have their time with Ray, but it's in a public setting? So instead of having individual meetings, that's their meeting?
Their time with Ray and staff. So like,
Right.
we pretty much handle a lot of that with our briefings, like if Terry gets on the phone, or Dave gets on the phone, or they come in and sit with us if there's, you know, a major issue that we, you know, have a lot of questions that we want to ask. But yes, that's what they do.
So I think that that's what those are, and as opposed to what we do as individuals, so.
And I don't
That
see
is
us
held-
needing another public meeting, though.
I think it would confuse people, actually, because then they would come here and they'd say, now you're really rubber stamping everything. I mean, because at least now we have had discussions on almost everything.
And yeah, it's good to have the discussion and debate.
We're good. I like Tom's idea.
Very nice, thank you.
Yes.
Let's move on. Okay. Council member
Wishes
comments.
for a short-
Ms. Nancy?
short meeting.
No, I think I'm good today, thank you. It's
Okay.
been a great meeting. So,
Kim?
I wanted to let everyone know a little bit about drug-free Punta Gorda. I did go Sunday to the Taste of Punta Gorda and was in the booth with Drug-Free Punta Gorda and DeFi, and part of that purpose was to try to sign up some vendors for the benefits for the kids, and so I was pretty successful with that. But also on Saturday, I went to Twin Isles, and the folks that I did the proclamation for, the Archway Institute, the last council meeting, they had a golf tournament. They raised $9,000. It was the first one. They gave $4,500 of it to Charlotte Behavioral Center. And what they do with the rest of the money, they are all around the United States, and they do these, they're just new residents to our area, Don and Jan Stuckey. And they are going to be doing this here. And then they took the other $4,500, they put it in a fund. And it's for people who can't afford to get rehabilitation for drug or alcohol or that type of thing. So it's such a great program, and it was really good to put it out there and to let the community know that there are some funds out there available even for the veterans, because a lot of it is alcohol, drug abuse, mental issues. So they did a really good job, so I was happy with that.
yeah, the 4,500 here is actually earmarked for helping people who cannot afford it,
In
even
our
though it's
area.
going through
Through.
Charlotte Behavioral, but that's
Right.
what it's earmarked for.
Right. But the other 45 can also be.
Yes, in
Yeah.
fact, what they said on the email that was sent out is that they are, people can apply for this online
Yeah, right, no matter, yeah.
where you are in the United States.
And it's not just that for extra 4,500, I mean, if you qualify. So this is going to be a great program for us, so. And just kind of a fun thing, I did get a message from our pickleball group, and there's a gentleman by the name of Kyle Yates, and he's the top pickleball player in the country. And he was quoted in an article as saying that Gilchrist Park was his favorite place to play pickleball.
And
All
which
right.
publication is that going in?
I'll send it to you. It's already there. It's already out.
Awesome.
So
Wonderful.
I will send that to you.
Wonderful, wonderful.
FYI.
Thank you.
Great.
Tom?
Yes, please. Karen, could you put up that picture on the Elmo? For those of you who use Kia Star as the entranceway into PGI, you've had to look at that eyesore for the past 10 years or so. Well, it's gone. It's no longer there.
Yay!
And
We need to put that in the weekly report, it's gone.
And secondly, the Vietnam Veterans Group is having a news conference on August the 4th, and they're going to recognize contributors to date to the wall. I'm sorry, what? April 4th, I'm sorry, April 4th. And they will be giving out plaques to various contributors, and they have asked what they can do for the city council. Would the city council like a plaque? Would they like recommendation of some kind or another? And I figured I would discuss it with you guys today. I have a thought. I would like for them to recognize city council for the efforts that we've all done. But beyond that, I would like them to recognize staff for their efforts that they have done so far on the wall. I mean, Mark, our engineer, and urban design, Joan and David and everybody they put in tremendous work in this and researching the exact details of the wall. So if you're inclined to do something like that, I would pass that word on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would we want a plaque at this time, or would we want something in the park itself?
I believe that when the plaque is ultimately put in the wall, that the city's name will be on the plaque. So at this point in time, this is just an interim recognition
That
of
would
the
be nice.
benefactors to date.
That would be very nice. Comments?
That would, very nice.
I agree with you. I think, recognizing, not necessarily, well, the city council, the city, but the staff, I think.
Staff, yeah. Yeah, it's good to see David here. You didn't have to go to jury duty today. Just wanted to.
Rachel?
Thank you.
Yes, I've been calling in Monday mornings to the Florida League of Cities legislative call-in. It's 30 minutes of very fast-paced information. But one thing that's bubbling up to the surface that I had Dave Drury look into is Senate Bill 242, and there's a House Bill now, 1309, and it's local government retirement plans mortality tables. And I think we should oppose this. It will mandate cities to use an exact mortality table as dictated by the state, which is not the ones that we use now. We pay our actuary to make these decisions for our pension plans, correct? They are experts, and we pay them to be experts and to manage our pension plans. But this would be the state telling us, no, you can't use the mortality table your actuary wants to use. We're telling you, you have to use this one. And it would impact our pensions immediately. So I'm hoping you would allow me to write an email on our behalf, telling everyone on these committees that we oppose it because of the fiscal impact and the encroachment on home rule.
I,
Agree.
every time we go, or every time an issue comes up, why is it that the state wants to continue to give us regulations? More and more regulations. And again, I agree wholeheartedly with you and with the League of Cities. Who is pushing that legislation? Do you know?
So it already passed one committee. It passed the Senate Community Affairs Committee, and it is now in the Senate Appropriations Committee. It's by Brandeis in the Senate and Drake on the House. And it's moving through now the House government. I'll send you the link. It's all on the Florida League. It's House Government Operations Subcommittee, Bradley, and
What is their,
the basis for it, I don't know.
could you also make sure that Jerry Paul and our team,
Yes, I can copy,
Capital
I can
assets.
copy it on, to him as well.
Well,
I guess they're leaning toward, in their minds, in the legislature's mind, it would make them feel like we're more actuarially sound if we do what they say. So that's where it's coming from, but it will have an impact on the percentage of payroll that would have to go into all three of our funds.
And please also then copy in all of our legislative delegation, Benequisto, Roberson, Dietrich, and Galvano, too.
I will do that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you so much. Yes, Nancy?
Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention, Rachel mentioned the city's website, and we talked about information. One thing I wanted to share, that I shared with Howard and with Brad, is that when I send out the weekly report, I send out in a newsletter using MailChimp, so I get information from that, and 48% of the people that read my newsletter, weekly report, do so on mobile devices,
Interesting.
whether it's a tablet or a smartphone. So I thought I'd share that with you. It's consistent with what the
What we're
Florida League of
thinking.
Cities said, and I think it's, just reiterates the significance, importance of what we are doing in the project that we have, that Brad is leading, so.
Thank you. Anything else for the good of the council? All right, we now have citizens' comments. And I didn't even highlight it.
Steve Fabian back again. On the annexation thing, Nancy mentioned about Memorial Park and the costs are concerned. I think I never looked at theirs, but I looked at a couple others, and particularly Walmart. And they have to realize there is a savings that they make they don't have to pay into the sheriff's or the fire at the county. And to give you an example, Walmart pays $68,000 a year into those two accounts. And if they come into the city, maybe $36,000 or something in tax. So there's so maybe Memorial Park should also look at that and see what kind of savings there.
We've done the math and pulled all their numbers and sat down, Howard and I sat down with them in a meeting and looked at all of that and had that very discussion. And you're right, with Walmart, they pay such a huge amount of
Yeah.
tax that
And I tell you, I don't know.
our fees are nothing, but to the smaller business,
Yeah.
it is a charge.
Okay, well, just a thought.
Yeah, thank you.
The other good news side, the council had supported the housing authority when we wanted to get money from the county. We applied for that. We made the list. There is a challenge period, but we are second from the bottom, so it looks very good. So we're very optimistic. We may be able to start moving forward on phase 2 pretty soon also.
That would be wonderful.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jay Buckley again. One is, just as citizen, I've noticed on 2 occasions, I don't know how the pathways are marked where they, for instance, coming out of Fisherman's Village, and they cross over Marion, and cars will stop if they see someone, I mean, they're out-of-state cars or they don't know anything about pathways or whatever, but they'll stop to let those pedestrians call. I mean, and I've seen in 2 instances where there was almost a rear-end collision because people were coming down the street and all of a sudden the car stops for the pedestrian. And the only other thing, from Boaters Alliance standpoint, I forgot to mention initially is the PGI Canal Advisory Board issued 37 permits for docks in the month of January and 31 for the month of February. So you can see we're going to have a safety issue if something is not done.
Thank you, Jay.
Hello. Hi, Gene Pulowski, a citizen. Back in '06 through '10, when I was on the Research and Development Committee for Team Punta Gorda, and at one time Tom was the chair of that committee, Frank Mazar and Judy Brentano. We had looked at the Justice Center property to the east and had recommended at that time that the Housing Authority look into marketing that property to a major hotel such as the Marriott and so forth. There's great advantages to that because the lots that are on the other side, which are the Harbor Walk, are city-owned. And so a hotel would not have to maintain a waterfront. However, they would get a block-long window view of the harbor, and it would be a great thing. Economically, that's a great thing for the city. However, things have changed, and they have a system of disposing of the property. But we actually have a different problem. And that's one that affects Fisherman's Village. It affects the Crab House, and that's a lack of parking. And we have that problem with Latchley Park. The advantage to having a parking lot, and we use the county lots for our events right now, would be that that lot to the east could be used for those purposes. Because Latchley Crab House does not get the volume they could have if they had more parking when we have events. And the same thing occurs with Fisherman's Village. You need additional parking out there. And the problem, as I see it, here you're trying to decide what we should do with the waterfront we had that Colonel Trabue gave us. However, we do not have enough waterfront. And so we ought to be researching that. And when you look to the blocks to the east of the Justice Center, the next two down to the hospital, there are a couple of small residences and businesses in there. We ought to be having a pre-purchase agreement such as they have going with the CRA on the north side of the harbor by Live Oak Park. They're buying up the small cottages gradually to open that up so that everything on the waterfront is open. And we ought to be looking at that. We ought to be looking all the way out to 75 for land that we can make a pre-agreement, first offer of refusal to buy that property.
Gene, thank you, and thank you for giving us a positive spin on the parking lot.
It's got pluses and minuses to
if
it
the
either
county
way.
does come-
Economically, hotels are great.
Thank you.
Good morning, Patty Allen, Fisherman's Village. I too was at the Tourist Development Council meeting, just as an observer, as I do go quite regularly. I was very frustrated that the tourism department didn't put up some money for the Vietnam Wall. I think that my intent is to bring it back up again on that agenda, the next agenda, as well as to write a letter because of its position and where the position is. Again, I think someone said it was a bookend to Fisherman's Village. It goes to our long-term plan of the development of that waterfront area and how important it is to have that connectivity between the area downtown and to Fisherman's Village. So that is my intent, is to write a letter and to follow up with the Tourist Development Council. I think there's a lot of opportunity in there for people who are coming for money, and this specifically, as Councilwoman Kiesling has said, puts heads on beds. This is not a 3-day event that comes and goes. This is a sustainable tourism attraction. So that is my intent, and I will copy each of you on that letter and follow up with each of you on that, what comes up from that. To Jean's comment about parking at Fisherman's Village, our parking is, for the most part, and all through downtown, is a 3-month problem. Other than that, I would like it to be a everyday problem. There are cars everywhere right now, which is a great thing for all our small businesses. But I think one of the things is that development, I keep talking about it, the sustainability, or the bridge between season and non-season. We got to continue to say what is going to bring people into our community all year round, so that the problem that's a 3-month problem becomes a 12-month problem. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. Does anyone else wish to make comments, citizen comments at this time? Well, thank you. The meeting is adjourned.